Yo, hope you're having a great day. It's Neff, and we're going to be going over some Havoc changes today. We're no longer dooming, we're all booming. 10,000 big booms, as you can tell by the title of the video and the thumbnail. Hope you guys like that. Before we get into everything, UI. This is the Shadowed Unit Frames version. If you want it, oh, I don't even have it on the screen. If you want it, it's available for Discord subs, Twitch subs, patrons, all that good stuff. This is the Shadow Unit Frames version. I have the LVUI version, but don't really use it myself, but it is there. But yeah, anyways, let's get into it. So I'm just going to go down the list. We'll talk about everything a little bit. The Hunt and Sigil Spite damage increased by 8%. Not too much going on there. It's nice to have. These big cooldown abilities, 1 minute, 1 minute and a half, aren't doing a ton of damage. They're more or less just there to like give us buffs and souls and resources and stuff. They don't do a whole lot. So a buff to them is nice. Then we have the big change. So remember we were dooming about this old sim, the good sim, bad sim, good sim, and the soul fragment generation. They're bringing the old Wounded Quarry soul generation back into the new Wounded Quarry, which how it is in game already. So we're back to booming at this sim number and not dooming at this sim number. So we get the funnel from Wounded Quarry and the soul gem. And this soul gen might actually be better. We might actually get more souls from it because you'll be able to proc it while not meleeing, unlike the other one where it only proc from melees. So we could see a little bit more soul generation. I don't expect much, if any, but either way, it's going to be about the same. So really nice to see that. They also buffed Wounded Quarry in a way so it actually scales with damage multipliers. Stuff like Thrill the Fight, Reaver's Mark, I'm assuming Inertia and all that good stuff. It should be whitelisted now. For those buffs is really nice. There is an issue right now in game where it's kind of doing like double the damage it should be doing. I'm assuming what's happening is it's triple dipping on these buffs. So if we look at this, this is from a log. This is from this log. I had the Wounded Quarry proc at 503 and another one at 504. And all of this damage is like 3 million damage. And then we had a 3.8 million Wounded Quarry proc, which kind of makes no sense. It basically did like 2.5 times what it should have been doing. So there's definitely like a double, triple dipping issue going on. Not entirely sure. Trying to line this back up. But to explain it, I think what's happening is the physical damage you do gets buffed, gets accumulated into Wounded Quarry. Those numbers get buffed initially, then the accumulated damage that gets added up and then outputted through the Wounded Quarry, that sum of those accumulated numbers is also getting buffed. So I'm pretty sure it's like triple dipping with our mastery, inertia, thrill the fight, and all that stuff. But I could be wrong. Before we move on in the video though, I do want to say that I still hate soul fragments as a mechanic. I don't care if I'm getting 40 soul fragments a minute. It's still a bad mechanic. Not knowing exactly when I'm going to be able to press Reaver's Glaive is just really bad in general. Especially when the spec, when talented into Eldrazi Reaver, is so like determined on your Reaver's Glaive, and you really don't know exactly when you're gonna get your next one until you hunt. And people are probably thinking, well, you have the stack counter, you can see if you have 5 stacks, your next soul, you're gonna get your Reaver's Glaive. I understand that, but you don't know when exactly you're gonna get that soul. And when your spec is so heavily revolved around Reaver's Glaive, it's just really bad design, where it's like a 20-second cooldown. Obviously, you know when you're going to get your next Reaver's Glaive. Or if it's like Fury based, it's like 300 Fury you need to spend to get a Reaver's Glaive. And I'm at 260. And then I know for a fact, when I press this next Chaos Strike, I'm going to be able to throw my Reaver's Glaive on the next global, right? So not being able to have that information and it being basically a slot machine spec really hinders like your just overall performance on the spec, right? Because it's like I said, it's basically a slot machine, and you're hoping that you're gonna get the souls when you need them to line up shit at the right time, press stuff at the right time, and everything. The spec is so heavily revolved around Reaver's Glaive, it just needs to be more deterministic. They also fixed an issue where several abilities were double dipping on Thrill the Fight's ability damage bonus. No idea what these abilities were. I could not tell you. But they fixed something there. And they gave some buffs to Felsguard because it's really behind at the moment. So they buffed Demon Surge by 18%. This is just like the flat damage of it. Not like the stacks of each, not the damage of each stack. So just the base damage increased by 18%. They buffed Flamebound to 50%. It was 30%. And I kind of like this change because Student of Suffering, it is nice. It gives you a ton of mastery, but you know, we're already at the tier where it's like, you know, we want mastery and we're stacking it and we're close to 100% mastery, especially with that mastery buff we got. That Student of Suffering is kind of fallen off a little bit, especially with the nerf to it. Playing with Student of Suffering with the new Cycle of Hatred, when I-Beam is a 20-second cooldown, VR is a 20-second cooldown, Essence Break is a 40-second cooldown. Trying to line up that 30-second cooldown with those 20 and 40-second cooldowns just felt really bad. So if we do play Fellscarred, I am kind of glad that Flamebound is the choice, or it most likely will be the choice now. Then they gave us a 5% aura buff, and the Blade Dance damage increased by 30%. 33% does not affect Death Sweep. So this was needed because with Fellscarred, you weren't even pressing Blade Dance. It wasn't even worth to press it because there's some weird scaling. So Chaos Strike to Annihilation is like a 30% flat damage increase. And Blade Dance to Death Sweep, it was more like a 60-70% increase. So Blade Dance was just not doing enough damage baseline for it to even be worth to press with Fellscarred. And we have Immolation Aura damage increased by 12%. Again, this just wants us to play Flamebound even more. And they fixed some weird scaling issues with Demon Hide on these abilities. I don't know exactly what that was, to be honest. Maybe it was giving like 4% instead of 3%. Pretty sure Demon Hide is like 3%, right? Yeah. Assuming it was just giving more than 3%. Then they buffed the tier set from 1% crit to 2% crit whenever you enter demon form and sacrifice your stacks, which was definitely needed. This is a sim from a couple days ago that Azer did. So this bottom number is with season 1 tier on. So you have 4 pieces that are 230 or 639 against the new tier set that's 678, and it's only a 3% loss. So you can imagine, you know, the new tier set doesn't add up very well against the old tier set. So it's definitely nice. I don't think it does a ton, but it definitely is nice. Then they buffed Vengeance by 20%. Pretty sure all the tanks got like a 15 to 20% buff. Tanks were falling a bit behind damage wise, so it's nice to see. But then they nerfed Demon Surge for Vengeance only. I think this is the stacking bonus. I didn't even know it was 20%, to be honest. I thought it was 10%, but they did get the flat damage buff, the 18%. So that kind of makes up for this a little bit. But I think overall it's definitely going to be doing less damage for Vengeance, which kind of sucks. But again, they got the 20% aura buff. So yeah, I think that's it. I think I covered everything. Hopefully Sims will be out soon. I know they're working on them. So when they are, you know, I'll post them. And I just got DC from the server. Yeah, the Sims I'll post in my Discord, and they will be posted in the Fellhammer Discord. But yeah, until next time, guys.